Hello fellow drawers, how's it going? This is a video I've been laying off for quite a long time and I'm finally getting my hands on it. Today I have a lot of questions for us to chew on. Questions regarding the correlation between social anxiety and being an artist. Does having a creative mind necessarily mean you're an introverted and socially anxious person? Why artistic kids in media are often depicted as weird, quiet kids with no friends sitting in the back desk? And why do so many of us choose fictional worlds over the real one? I will be playing some of my speed paints in the background so you have something to look at while we talk. So make some tea, draw along, eat along, and let's discuss. Chapter 1: The Life of an Art Kid. I have always been an art kid. From primary school, where I first began to explore different mediums, paints, pencils, and stuff, to middle school and high school, where I would bring my sketchbook to every single class every single day and pay little to no attention to the actual class. And surprisingly, I have always been the only art kid in my class. Throughout all the school years, I was always the only one. And on one hand, there have been times where I maybe felt misunderstood or like I didn't belong, or wished I had an art friend. Well, no, not a friend. No, I wanted an art sensei. You know, someone who is my friend, someone who also draws, but who does it 10 times better than me. Someone I can look up to, someone who can teach me something while not being a teacher. That's what I wanted. But unfortunately, no one in my friend group or in my family was an art sensei, or even loosely related to any kind of art. No, not a single person. So no one really understood what I was doing, but they still supported me and were happy for me for doing something. But on the other hand, I liked being the only one. I liked the attention. I liked feeling unique and special and being able to do something no one else around me could do. I never felt like the weird outsider kid. Maybe I got lucky with classmates, I don't know, but my drawing actually helped me make friends. Because it was an easy conversation starter. I would whip out my sketchbook in class and whoever was sitting next to me would eventually get curious and start asking me about it. My classmates would always ask me to let them flip through my sketchbooks, see my new drawings, or ask me to draw them, which, yes, is annoying, but that's still positive attention and admiration, and who doesn't love that? Even teachers knew me as an art kid because they all saw I was drawing and not paying attention to the class. Some of them were not very happy about it, but none of them were like extremely negative about it. I mean, I've never had my sketchbook taken away from me and torn apart by a teacher, so I think that's good. Some of them were even curious and I would show them my drawings. I don't know, maybe again I got lucky with the teachers. But as I said, none of my friends were artsy crafty like me, which means that while I was running, no, actually sprinting home from school to spend the rest of my day filling up my sketchbook pages and scrolling on Pinterest to find something to draw in class next day and watching YouTube, my peers were hanging out outside. Can you believe it? How weird is that? They were partying at the clubs, at the malls, at the parks, and my mom would constantly pester me with questions like, why don't you go outside? Why don't you hang out with friends more often? Aren't you bored being home all the time? She still does that. By the way, she still does. And my friends would always call me and invite me to hang out, and I did, but I never knew if I really wanted to. I always felt like that was what I was supposed to do, like that was what my mom and my friends wanted me to do, like that's what was expected of a person my age to be doing. But did I actually want that? I didn't mind being home alone. In fact, I loved it. There is no place I'd rather be than at home. That was true then and that is true now. That is the only place I feel fully comfortable in. I never liked sleepovers at other people's homes, even if they were close friends or relatives. I love my home. I love my room. I love my bed. I've always lived here with my mom, just the two of us. When my mom was at work, I had this whole big apartment all for myself, which I've come to only later realize is an insane privilege. Not many people have that. Not many of my friends had that. Some of them lived with a bunch of relatives and siblings, and it was never quiet. They didn't have any personal time or space. So maybe that also played its part, because for me, being at home has always been way too comfortable, way too good. So nothing really pushed me to go outside. Chapter 2: Fears and Paranoia. And besides, the outside world seemed scarier and scarier the more I grew up. I started reading the news and it's scary. People are scary, the things people do. So art always, whether consciously or subconsciously, has been a form of escape for me. I loved creating those new colorful worlds and characters and stories in my head as much as I loved consuming those stories via anime, movies, books, video games. That has always been so exciting and so fun for me. I wanted to indulge in those worlds more and more because, I mean, there's like magic and Pokemons and stuff. And that seems way cooler than a walk in the park. And just the sense of being able to create something, to bring an idea I have in my head to life, being able to visualize it, put it on paper, and show to other people. That felt like its own kind of magic. And I kept imagining what else I could be capable of creating with more practice and skill. The possibilities are endless. And the real world did not excite me nearly as much as the world in my head, so I preferred to stay at home and explore the world that was more exciting. But back then it wasn't concerning me yet because it wasn't anything major or extreme and I felt fine. And I almost never skipped school. Even though I wasn't a fan of it, I went there every day. That was until 2020 hit. And that was when it all started to take turns. In 2020, I was 16 in grade 9. Our exams got cancelled because of COVID. And to me, that was heaven. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't have been happier. Are you kidding me? I don't have to go to school. Not only school, I don't have to go anywhere. I no longer have to wake up at 6 a.m. I get to stay home and draw and chill and watch cartoons and do everything I didn't have time to do before. That was a dream come true. I started caring about school even less. I'd connect to the freaking Zoom call and go back to sleep or go do my other stuff, which didn't really cause me a massive amount of trouble because I have always been an excellent student before that, and teachers knew me as such, so they didn't complain about me as much because my reputation kind of did the work for me. And I was attached to home before. Imagine how I touched the gut after being home for several months straight. I didn't notice it before I had to actually return to school. And it felt different. It didn't feel like that before. Why am I sweating? Why can I not sit straight? Why do I feel so nervous? Why do I feel like I want to cry and run away? Being at school became unbearable. I began to skip classes to go home earlier, then I began to skip days and then more days. Going to school for only 3 days a week became my new norm. But obviously that didn't solve the issue at all. It only made it worse. The more I stayed at home, the scarier it seemed to go outside. And you really don't notice it until you actually have to go outside. And only being outside you realize, oh, it's bad. Oh, it's really bad. It got worse. After school, I went to uni, and it was even worse. I had zero friends, zero like-minded people. Everything I disliked about school was now multiplied by 100. And if to get to school, I needed to hop into my mom's car, 5 minutes and I'm there. To get to university, I needed to walk 15 minutes to the subway through the snow and rain, and then spend 45 minutes standing in the subway train, squeezed like a sardine, about to black out because of a smell of 10 liters of nuclear perfume someone decided to pour on themselves in the morning, which led to occasional panic attacks and mental breakdowns. At uni, I was so uninterested by everything going on around me that I spent all of my time drawing. I would bring my iPad or my sketchbook with me every day and draw while on my way in the train, if I could actually find a seat. I would draw during lectures and seminars in hopes that that would make time pass faster. And with social anxiety, as well as with every type of mental disorder, you feel like there is something so wrong with you and only you. You look at other people and they do it so effortlessly. All those things that cause you so much stress and use so much of your energy, they have no trouble doing. They don't even think about it. I look at my mom, and my mom is a total extrovert, and she goes to work every day. It also takes her 45 minutes on the subway to get to work, but she does it. She does it every day and it doesn't seem to bother her. She loves going outside. She also has no problem making phone calls or talking to strangers, asking for directions or going outside without makeup or in tight-fitting clothes. To me, those are superpowers. And I'm so glad I have a mom like that and friends who are also like that. Imagine if I had a mom who was just as scared as I was. What would I do in that case? That would be a nightmare. Yes, those people don't share my passion for art. Their lifestyles are totally different from mine and they might have different views, but they complete me and I feel safer with them than without them. Chapter 3: Alex in dissociation. The character I'm drawing today has actually a lot to do with today's topic. This is my OC, his name is Alex. This is my first time drawing him, but even though I've never drawn him before, he has been living in my head for a pretty long time, several years for sure. Okay, I lied, I just remembered that I've drawn him once before, like 2 years ago. My bad. At the beginning, he wasn't really an OC, he was more like an imaginary friend or a persona or a voice in my head. I don't know. I made him up when my anxiety was through the roof and generally not the greatest time in my life. As long as I can remember, in moments of stress and anxiety, I used to always dissociate. I would imagine like I'm not there or like I'm someone else, and that would bring me peace. I remember whenever my mom was driving, I was sitting in the passenger seat with my earbuds in, and whenever a stressful situation would occur, a conflict on the road, or we missed a turn, or the navigator stopped working, and my mom would start stressing out about it, instead of being there to calm her down or help her solve the issue, I would turn the music in my ears up to the max, turn to the window, and imagine like I'm not in this car right now. I can't hear or see anything, and would wait until the issue resolved itself, which is awful. But I couldn't do anything with myself. Or whenever I had to go somewhere on a public transport or be in a public crowded space, I would also imagine like it's not me walking down the street right now. Or like I'm not actually walking alone, I'm with a friend or something, and that would give me confidence. And Alex, one day he just appeared in my head, or maybe I had a dream or something, I don't remember, and I started developing his character more and more, and he's basically everything I am trying to be. Everything I feel like I'm lacking. Being calm all the time, not caring so much, not overthinking everything, living in the moment. He is how I imagine a person with all those traits would look like. And his color scheme is very warm, like a sunny summer day. Yellow is my favorite color, and he's the embodiment of the color yellow to me. So just thinking about this whole vibe maybe feel better. I was never talking to him or anything, or actually imagine like he's my friend. He just lives in the back of my head. He is more like a part of my character and my personality, because I also possess all of those features. Maybe not in such capacity, but I do have that in me. And he's just the embodiment and reminder of that. Chapter 4: Social anxiety. Social anxiety is the third most common mental condition in the world, behind substance use and depression, and it's been becoming more and more prevalent in recent years. Social anxiety is different for everyone. We all have different responses. The three general responses people tend to have are fight, flight, and freeze. So if you fidget with your hands a lot when you're stressed, or you have the urge to shake your hands or something, then your response is fight, because you're preparing your fists to fight. Then freeze, it's pretty self-explanatory. When stressed, you feel like you can't move. For me, it's always been flight, or simply run. When in stressful conditions, in crowded public spaces for example, I always have the urge to run. I feel less stressed when I'm on the go. I need my legs to move. At university, when I realized that classes are now twice as long as they were at school, I also realized how unbearable it was to sit through them, so I would feel the need to walk out to the bathroom or just to the hallway every like 20-30 minutes, because otherwise I would feel awful and anxious sitting in a room full of people for so long. And I would lock myself up in the bathroom stall and spin around or jump and dance on the spot, just move my body in some way. And vape. Yeah, I also used to vape a lot, which definitely fueled my anxiety even more, because smoking doesn't relieve stress, it creates additional artificial stress that you begin to feel whenever that thing is not in your mouth. And you feel like the only way to relieve that stress is to put it back into your mouth again, and you end up trapped in this never ending circle. So just throw it in the trash. And besides those general responses, anxiety can also show itself through a million other unpleasant symptoms that can differ from person to person, such as rapid heartbeat, intense sweating, eyes watering, stiffness or shaking in the body, feeling like you don't have enough oxygen, feeling thirsty, dizzy, foggy, scared, paranoid, disoriented. It feels awful. The only thing on your mind in that moment is, how do I hide? How do I get home as fast as possible? When home is not an option, the next best thing is any quiet place with no one around. This disorder is becoming increasingly more common in recent years, which is not surprising as we are becoming more and more distant from each other because of social media and post-COVID development of various delivery apps that eliminate the need to go out to the mall or the grocery store. Working from home has become more of a common practice even in companies where that was never an option before. We have less and less need to communicate to people face to face, and that communication becomes more foreign, scary, and uncomfortable. And on top of that, we don't trust people anymore because it seems like, again, because of social media and AI and stuff, like everyone is trying to scam or trick you in some way. So you're always skeptical, always alert. And it's not a bad thing, it's good. You have to know better than to trust strangers online and offline as well. But that is also exhausting, to never let your guards down, and it only fuels our fears and paranoia. So, is it a good or a bad thing? I don't know. I don't have the answer, but I do have one last question. Chapter 5. Could this be avoided? This is a question I often ask myself. Could this be avoided? Could I be different if I chose a different path? Right now, drawing is my favorite thing to do. I do it every day. That is the only thing I want to do and never get tired of doing. It's my hobby, it's what I do to have fun, it's what I do to relax. It will also hopefully become my full-time job one day. But what if I never picked up drawing? What other hobby would I have? What would I do in my free time? Would my personality be different? Would I be more extroverted because I would get bored at home and would spend more time outside? Would I view anime and cartoons differently because I would focus more on the plot and not the actual animation and the art style and character design process behind them? I probably wouldn't care about that stuff. Maybe I would be able to withstand university even and get a normal job and not make my family worry about my future. Or maybe I never even had a choice. Maybe I was born this way with a brain wired like this and was destined to be an artist. I love movies like The Butterfly Effect, Mr. Nobody, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where the main character explores parallel universes and different scenarios of their life that could have been if they chose a different friend in kindergarten, or if their parents didn't get divorced, or if they never met their partner, or something so tiny and subtle they didn't even think about it, but that changed the course of their entire life or someone else's. And maybe a different version of my life is a bit better or a bit worse, who knows? I know I wouldn't choose a different life if I could. I'm pretty happy with what I got. Is my social anxiety related to me being an artist? Maybe. Drawing is a hobby that is quite hard to do outside or with friends. It mostly requires you sitting at home with a movie playing in the background and a cup of tea. Are there artists who are extroverts? Of course there are. I'm not friends with any of them, but I'm sure they exist. If you are an extroverted and mentally healthy artist, sign off in the comments. My main belief is that every choice you make is the right choice. Yeah, I have some weaknesses and fears and my brain is imperfect, but it's mine. So it's cool. Anyways, here are all three versions of my boy Alex. I love all three, they turned out way better than I expected. It always feels like so much responsibility to draw an OC for the first time because it has to be right. That's basically your first impression of him. So I'm glad that this impression is looking quite handsome. Now he's a part of the family. I'm not sure about his lore with other characters yet. One thing is for sure, he's Beck's best friend. He's the only one who truly cares about him a lot. He's a good friend of Lixie as well. Quentin not so much, he mostly teases and makes fun of him, but in a nice way, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really excited to read all of your thoughts in the comments. What experience with social anxiety did you have? How's it been living as an art kid? What do you think of Alex? Do you like him? You better like him, because I like him. Maybe you even have some lore ideas for him. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then press like, subscribe. I have other drawing and talking videos like this on my channel, as well as some tutorials that you might find useful, so you can go watch those if you want. Or if you just want to look at the art that I make, then you can check out my other socials. Okay, there she is. And good night, good day, goodbye, and also happy upcoming new year. Bye!